So now some of you probably open up this video thinking, oh, Scipio, you're doing a video on 763x39 and you spelled it wrong. And to that, I have to confidently say, no! I have actually spelled everything right, and we are not doing the 762x39mm cartridge. We are doing something much, much weirder today. What's up, guys? Skippy Africanus here, and on today's Cartridge of the Week episode, we'll be featuring the 762x40mm. Which, shout out to one of my friends, they actually gave me this thing, along with a couple other neat rounds. It will certainly make an appearance on various Cartridge of the Week episodes later on. But today we'll be starting with the 762x40. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the cartridge, we will do what we always do and take a look at the headstand. Which up top, we can see that cross with the circle surrounding it, and on the bottom it reads LC11. Now, LC obviously standing for Lake City. 11, I'm assuming, stands for year of manufacture. Though to be honest, I had a difficult time looking at how to read head stamps from Lake City brass. There's probably an easy answer, but the internet seemed to be giving me like all answers to other questions that weren't in regards to that. But from my guesses, that is the date, the 11 being from 2011. And on the brass itself, you will notice we got two circles on both the top right and top left, and then we have one circle on the bottom between LC and 11. Now this head stamp is important as not only does it signify manufacture, but it is also identical to head stamps present on 223/556 casings that come from the Lake City ammunition plant. And that's important as the parent casing for this cartridge uses the 223/556 casing. They have simply cut down the casing and necked it up to a .308 caliber or .30 caliber projectile. Now this cartridge was introduced by Wilson Tactical in 2011 and has quite a neat reason for why it was even brought out in the first place. Where you see, Wilson liked hog hunting, particularly at night, and tended to have a gun in, either 30 Remington AR or 300 Blackout, and, he grew kind of tired of losing the 30 Remington AR casings due to their proprietary case nature, so decided to neck up a .556 casing to a .308 caliber projectile, which brought him to the 762x40mm. Now you may be wondering, as well I myself was wondering, well isn't that just 300 Blackout but a tiny bit longer, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But anyways, looking into the 762x40mm cartridge, these on average feature anywhere from 110 to all the way a 150 grain bullet, traveling at around 24 to 2600 feet per second. Now do note that you can also get heavier bullet weights, given the cartridge is a 308 or uses a 308 diameter projectile, you can obviously get some very heavy weights. However, this cartridge begins to run into issues with overall length, making it difficult to get a proper size cartridge that will reliably feed magazines with the longer, heavier bullets. Which, speaking of magazines, the 762x40mm is compatible with most all parts in your standard AR, save for, the barrel. And the magazines, it's sort of a kind of compatible. Now, if you don't mind being limited to something like around 10 to 15 shots, then your standard 30 round AR mag won't prove to be much of an issue. At least assuming you're not running standard metal USGI magazines. I heard those tend to just hate this cartridge. Now, if you are wondering on the 10 to 15 round difference, it seems magazines of different manufacturer, like PMag was more the 10 round, and then Lancers were holding 15, so kind of varies on the magazine. But overall, you're not going to get your full 30 round capacity with your standard 556 magazine. And the reason for this have to do with the dimensions of the cartridge versus the ribs inside of the magazine. If I can get that on camera. You'll see right there you have that rib on the left, and then there's that rib on the right. And what those are meant to do is kind of just keep the regular 556 round properly spaced. So when I put one of those in, you'll notice that it just kind of, it's pretty much on the, neck of the casing. However, when we put in the 762x40mm cartridge, you will notice that it kind of pushes it off to the side a little bit, because as we can see comparing the two cartridges, remember that rib is right on that neck, which is a lot thinner than on the 762x40. So as you load more and more cartridges, yes, they will they'll fit into the magazine. However, it's got some friction on it, and the more you add, the more friction it gets until you get to the point where they will not feed. That being said, there are of course proprietary magazines for this caliber that allow you to have a full 30 rounds, which, to really no surprise, just involves shaving that rib down. Now back to the question of, isn't this just a 300 Blackout but longer? Like they're very similar cartridges. This is only 5 millimeters longer. The answer to that is no. The 7.62x40, though featuring a heavier bullet than the 5.56, yet using the parent case, tends to still hang around in the lighter grain bullet range and be a little bit hotter on the powder charge. They weren't really designed to run subsonic like the 300 Blackout was. And the 300 Blackout is, of course, the polar opposite, being great for subsonic shooting and capable of using much heavier bullets in the process. In fact, that's where the 5mm case length difference makes a little more sense. The 7.62x40 lengthens the case to allow for more powder volume, which cuts off its ability to use the heavier 30 caliber bullets, but gives you a little more velocity, whereas the 300 Blackout, shortens the casing, taking away some powder volume, decreasing velocity, but allowing it to use some pretty heavy bullets. Now, all that being said, despite the 7.6240 being a little bit faster, it's really not that much faster, at least in my opinion, to justify getting it over the much more common 300 Blackout. Which really kind of explains, this cartridge's, kind of rareness. There really is only one manufacturer of the stuff, and it's because 300 Blackout, again, this stuff shoots a little bit faster, but 300 Blackout kind of does what you want it to do already, a little bit less velocity, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper, and there's a lot more, ammunition brands and all that with it. Though all that being said, and this doesn't mean anything for usability, I think this round looks pretty freaking cool. It doesn't look as cool as another round that I got from that one dude that we'll go over a little bit later. Hint, hint, it's a caliber and kill zone, but I think this is still a really cool looking round. But anyways, that is going to do it for this week's Cartridge of the Week episode featuring the 7.62x40mm. I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I personally enjoyed making it, and I will see y'all next time.